alongside Steve Simcox. And you're like, what is Steven Simcox doing here on a Thursday? Well, yesterday he was just a little punky, little under the weather, had the crud.
Yeah, I'm in that weird stage of illness where I don't feel bad enough to really slow down.
Yeah.
But it's still slowing me down.
Yeah. I had that Monday I was in a fog until about noon.
Yeah. And as you know, this week is always insane.
Yeah.
For everybody. So I feel like I've just been running around. I haven't been sleeping great. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's, I do a ton of work for high school football until
it starts
today. And then now as
you out,
I'm kind of like a consultant. That's
you
what
are
I am.
Consultant.
Is that what you would call me? That I'm a high school football consultant at this point.
You should ask for those college football consultant salaries.
Look, I'm telling you, Smokey and I have talked about this. We really need to just stop talking about it and be about it and just set up a consulting firm and then go to media market places and go hey, this is how you do this. And I think we do well.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love to be able to just get paid a couple grand to show up at a place and stay at a Hilton Garden Inn and then, go in and tell them hey, here's what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, just roll into Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
With a legal pad and be listen, guys, that's what we need to do.
Well, yeah. We get a young intern named Devin, and he's in charge of the PowerPoints. And Devin's got a PowerPoint here. He worked it up, and then it makes us look cool.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got to have glasses. He's got to be really thin. I have to I have a look for him.
Kind of Silicon Valley-esque.
Yeah. Devin, can you? Devin can answer all your technical questions. Mm-hmm. He'll go hang out with the engineer. All those things. And then we can just be all right, where's our money? Devin's got to eat.
Invoice, yeah.
Devin's got to eat,
I need a check now. I need per diem.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love being a consultant. And I know for a lot of them it's not hard work, but it's easier than having to answer to the man all the time. Mm-hmm. Which I got to tell you, I don't really do anyway.
Nope.
I have bosses. They're all very nice. I've never once felt like any one of them has that, overlord feeling. So,
yes, it seems like a great job. Sonny Dykes has set up his kind of own school this year for coaches who didn't coach good and want to learn how to be nice to their players again.
Yeah.
And so Dana Holgerson's there. He had a press conference. He looked like he was living the dream.
Yeah.
Just drinking Red Bulls, showing up practice once or twice a week.
Yeah. I'm surprised I saw some of that. I'm surprised he didn't have somebody bring him a sub, and he was no, you guys go on. I'm just gonna eat while we talk.
Yeah, I can still answer questions.
I'm
oh, what do you want to know?
Oh, meatball, great. This is great. I love this place down the street. Never knew about it when I was coaching other places.
Yep. I've been there 4 times this week.
Yeah. I could see that. Todd Graham. Here's the thing about Todd Graham. Todd Graham is a strategist and a everything else. He's fantastic at that.
Yeah.
His interpersonal stuff is what ultimately got him. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, especially now, I think there's a generation of coaches in transition right now, and Nick Saban had to transition out of it. A lot of people do, and you can still be a hard ass, but you can't be a hard ass like Bear Bryant was a hard ass.
Yeah.
And I think so many of them grew up in that. Look, I had coaches on either side of the spectrum when I was in high school. I'm sure you did too, where you've got one guy who's just wearing
you out all the time.
Yeah, he just eats plain oatmeal every day, and when he's jacked, and when you're in the weight room and you're trying to bench 150 pounds, he's just over there picking up the bar like this to spot you with one hand, and not at all friendly, but kind of has a cool past,
right?
That guy, but he's grizzled. And then you've got the other coaches listen, man, we just want the most out of you. And you're you know what? I'll do that for you because I am scared as hell of this guy. I will make sure I work as hard as I can because he scares me and you believe in me.
Yes.
And now I don't think that dynamic works the same anymore. I think that, it's still there, but I don't think that you can be to the extreme anymore.
Well, and the other thing is if you're going to be a tough, demanding guy, you got to win.
Yeah.
At the first sign of like this isn't working, everybody's going to be like, okay.
Well, I think
I
think Gary Patterson found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
In that, like, he did not adapt, and then he got paranoid about a lot of things, and because he was like, Coach QAnon for a while, like, oh yeah, you know what happened? SMU planned this. SMU went after Jerry Kill because they don't like people who have chronic illnesses. And those snobby people from Dallas just took him out. And then like, well, the video shows that like your own players kind of knocked him down, rushing out to kind of get in the scrum.
Oh, you're not getting it. Open your eyes, guys.
And he's like, oh yeah? Oh yeah? Well, what about Antifa? Antifa's well known to dress up as TCU football players.
Come into your neighborhoods.
Yeah. So like when that stuff happened, like you just can't be that anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a generational thing and it changes. Like I don't think you're ever going to see the disappearance of hard ass coaches.
No.
But I do think that like Dana Holgerson, who at his best is not really that way, but he got pretty jaded. Mm-hmm. Like if you watch some of those press conferences last year, we've talked to Dana Holgerson a bunch of times, and he's never was like that. And then you watch a press conference, and you're like, I don't know, like what's going on here, but homeboy's angry. Mm-hmm. Like he's angry, blaming a loss completely on the players. Which look, it might have been completely on the players. We don't know. I mean, but
you can't do that as head coach. Like that's just
absolutely not. You gotta you
got to take the responsibility.
You can't tell the world.
Yes,
it was their fault. You can tell them it was. Like, there's a way to do it. Be like, look, guys, I'm going to tell you. Everybody blew assignments tonight. You weren't listening to us. Like, there's bad communication. We lost that game because you guys did not prepare the right way. Mm-hmm. I'll take my share of the responsibility, but I'm going to tell you, this coaching staff was really working their ass off tonight, and you didn't. But as opposed to, like, just being in your feelings and going to a press conference, go, what? Our players are terrible. You're like, oh, great, thanks.
Put that headline out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to disguise it. Or just keep it in-house, I guess.
Like the next commercial that comes up is like, 1-800-TRANSFER portal. Did your coach just say you sucked? 1-800-TRANSFER portal will get you in the portal.
Right.
To a coach who loves and appreciates everything you do. But, Dana Holgerson, not like that. Now, Todd Graham, he's going to have to, really, if he wants to be a coordinator or a coach again, he's got to adjust his, approach. Mm-hmm. The one, and this is a pro coach, but the person I saw do it the most, and he wound up winning him 2 Super Bowls, was Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin used to be one of those guys who kind of came across at me as, if a guy came in wearing, a paisley shirt, he'd be like, we don't do that here. All right.
What was this thing?
There are 4 shirt colors. There's navy, there's gray, there's white, and there's black.
They had to be there 15 minutes early for meetings or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was Lombardi time was early on time is late, late don't even show up. But yeah, they had to be there, early, for meetings. But see, the thing is, I think he realized this, if you tell them that, then that's the time the meeting starts. So then they're not really early, they're on time. So you can't tell them, you can tell them early is on time is late, late don't even show up. But then you can't tell them you have to be here 15 minutes early or you're late because you're kind of going at your own thing. Mm-hmm. It's something you have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
You kind of have to let them fail to learn that lesson. Okay, everybody else was here 15 minutes early. They get the gist.
I'm missing out. Yeah.
You don't. That's the thing. But when you tell them and okay, well, we'll be here 15 minutes early, well, then it just keeps moving up because eventually he's going to go, oh, everybody's here. We're going to start the meeting 15 minutes early. And then all of a sudden you've created a situation. Now you're going to make people late because they're going to show up 15 minutes early and you're starting the meeting then. So the meeting doesn't start at 10:30. It starts at 10:15. Then it starts at 10. Then it starts at 9:45. And then you're, 6 a.m. because you keep trying to teach them how to be early.
Adjust it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things table manners. You can tell people to do it, but until they see themselves picking up their baked potato and eating it with their hand, maybe they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know the best way to go about it.
Yeah. But Steven, it's week 1.
It is.
We have moved past week 0. We have completely moved past week 0.
Do those games count?
I mean, it's week 0, so really shouldn't, right? 0 doesn't count. Here's the thing. There's an unknown rule that in week 0 in a foreign country, nothing that happens
matters.
Yeah, it's not punishable by law. So it's like the purge. It's just
like the purge.
yeah. No, nothing matters. But it's a really, like, there are not. It's funny. I think this is ultimately going to change in college football. I think week 0 will be everybody's, like, it's not going to be 4 games, and there'll be an Ireland game, and there'll be like a couple other cool games. But that will be the week, August 24th of every year or whatever it is, where everybody plays their FCS opponent, say, for like a couple of, like one really great 11 o'clock game, one really great 3 o'clock game, one really great primetime game. Those will be that. So that everybody can still get their guarantee game in, get loose and go, and then roll out. But for week 1, that's how week 1 kind of is right now. Because if you look at the schedule, a lot of duds.
Yeah.
A lot of duds.
A lot of insert FCS team here.
Yeah. And, I understand that the FCS teams need this money. If we could figure out a way to separate that out, I would rather not see FCS teams and FBS teams play ever. Like, the only way you should be allowed to is if you were in the playoff a year ago.
Or treat it like a scrimmage.
Yeah, treat it like
that's my thing.
Treat it like a scrimmage.
You can put it on TV still. Like, people can still watch on ESPN Plus or whatever.
Just replace the spring game, because those are going by the wayside. Nobody's going to do a traditional spring game anymore.
Yeah. They're going to do OT. Like, if you did OTAs and then a fall scrimmage, I'd be like, all right, there we go. Put it on, do that. High school teams do it all the time, 2 weeks into practice.
Yep.
They go to a scrimmage and, play against another team and,
do some situational football stuff.
Yeah. And then, everybody gets some TV money and everybody would be happy.
You can even make it an NIL game or something if you wanted.
Yeah. Help everybody else. Like, everybody's going to get paid here.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would do. And make that your preseason kind of a thing that people can watch and go to, and make it that way it can be maybe a more fun trip for the FCS team. Like, hey, we're going to play Kansas State. All right, well, now it's more fun because there's no stakes here. We can go practice. You guys can enjoy doing it. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be, getting a showcase. Maybe some of you can play for a team like Kansas State. Like those kind of things. So I think that they need to fix that. But outside of that, like, you've got Clemson and Georgia this week. You got A&M and Notre Dame. You got West Virginia and Penn State, Miami and Florida. And I think those are the 4 biggest ones, right? I'm not leaving anybody out.
I mean, LSU, USC kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but
yeah, LSU, USC, and the rest. Like, there's some interesting ones. TCU and Stanford is interesting as far as brand names go,
right?
But
not great teams.
Yeah, if Stanford has been better over the years recently, maybe we'd feel different about that game. Now, let me ask you about that one first, Stephen. Do you have a foreboding sense of what if the boredom catches, like, on the sideline? Because Stanford currently is one of the most boring places to play in the country. I mean, it's like teams can go in there and then maybe catch a malaise because it's going to be half full if that. It's a Friday night. They're the only game, right? I think they only
I think so. I mean,
like the only
one in that window.
Yeah, only one in that window. Yeah, and they're late. It's late. Like, all these things. I see no scenario in which they lose here, but I do see a scenario where they go out there and, like, look a little streaky.
I think it's a concern. I mean, one of my big questions is, like, Sonny's talked a lot this offseason about how they have a better mentality. So this is really a bring your own energy type of game. I mean, I don't expect a raucous environment at the farm. I'm not even sure Stanford started classes yet. Somebody told me that the other day. They kind of have a different schedule. So I don't foresee a lot of students there. And, yeah, you're going to have to bring your own motivation. But I just feel like if this TCU team is good and focused, then they should handle it pretty well. They have a lot of motivation coming off a disappointing year, but that is a problem. And, I mean, it's one of those things, like, Stanford's got a ton of returning production. So they were 3-9 last year. I guess you can spin that a couple different ways. You can say, well, hey, those guys aren't talented and good, but you can also think maybe in year 2 of Troy Taylor they take a step forward. But line's 9.5. I mean, I think it does feel like a game where maybe it's close in the first half. There's there's kind of a feeling out process. But then in the second half, TCU should pull away if their athletes do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll have a fun atmosphere, a fun game. I mean, like a fun atmosphere, a fun game. They can do some things, but I do worry about like you get there and it's like, the whole area, the whole campus is like, oh, is there a football game today? I'm sorry, I was trying to cure cancer.
Yeah, just doing some research on a Friday night.
Yeah, like, is there a football game? I'm sorry, I was inventing the next Google, so don't bother me.
I'm trying to get grant money. I'm not trying to watch TCU Stanford.
You guys don't care about climate change? I guess I do. So
we're doing a sit-in in the dining hall during that time. Sorry.
Like, hey, you guys want to go to the football game? I hear the hot dogs are half price. Like, oh, of course. Like Cal is like, no, we don't do that. Veggie dogs here at our stadium. If you would like a tofurkey dog, we have plenty of them.
We're also not big fans of football, but
we refuse to call it the pigskin. That is cruel and inhumane. Our balls are made of sustainable leaves that have been sewn together. Okay, here's another game I'm curious about. Steven, I asked for everybody's opinion on this yesterday, and it was really I didn't get any real direction. Garrett leaned in one way. The chat room was kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to feel? We talked about it for a long time because
we did.
Andrew Baker asked me to go to the Texas and Florida game, which I don't think I can do just because like Florida State and Notre Dame play that day. I really want to watch that game. And I think I'd just be mad the whole time. Mm-hmm. And Andrew would be like,
he'd be poking
like a 6-year-old with a stick and a beehive, just be like, ha, ha, ha. Although, here's the thing. I think he wants to do the social experiment where he'll see if he can annoy me so much that I'll cheer for the Gators. I think there's two things in his head.
Ooh.
He wants to see if I hate the Gators so much that I'll cheer for the Longhorns, or that he can annoy me so much that I can be like, damn right, Graham Mertz, which I can tell you, neither one of those things is possible.
You're like chomping by the end of the game?
Yeah. Like, yeah. You guys ever heard of Javon Curse?
You're just yelling out to nobody, like, Billy Napier's off the hot seat.
Yeah. Listen, me and my bro, Reedell Anthony, are coming for you. Just old Gators. For the spirit and love of Danny Werfel, Chris Doring, Fred Taylor. Let's do this. No, neither one's going to happen. Neither one's going to happen. Somebody's going to clip that and take it out of context.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's etched in history forever now.
Yeah. But how am I supposed to feel about, like, where is my rooting interest for this game? Because Florida State beating a better, like, given the fact that they're 0-1 now. Now, if they're 1-0, I would feel indifferent about it. It wouldn't matter. But now that they're 0-1 and style points are going to start to matter for them, and, it's going to be more of an uphill battle. They still control their own destiny completely, but there's, they've got a pimple right now. And so a pimple that's not going to go away.
Nope.
And a pimple that can't fade into oblivion because it was the only game that was on. So everybody's going to remember it.
Right.
And now they have to hope for Georgia Tech to be what it looks like they can be, but they have to be that consistent all year. Like, they need Georgia Tech to be at least 8-4 or 7-5. Like, they need Georgia Tech to be 8-4. So they're like, well, that's a team on the rise. But do I need Miami to be better because that's a conference game? Or do you need the Gators to be better because that's the last game of the year and it's going to get huge ratings anyway? It's the big rivalry game on Thanksgiving weekend, and you'll need the ACC beats the SEC points to make sure if you don't win the ACC championship game that your two losses, which would theoretically have to be at that point 10-2. Like a 10-2 team in the ACC that beat Florida but lost to, say, like Miami, who they played twice. Like, do you need, like, where do I need that to be? I don't know. It's hard for me. I've never had a rooting interest in this game before just because I'm like, oh, I hate you both so much. I root for fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I need a whiteboard to really draw it up here.
And look, here's the thing. Florida State has pretty much told the ACC that they don't care about them right now. That, we're out here on our own. We're going to do this, like we're an ACC team in name only.
I think the conference implications still matter enough that Miami being good would be better for Florida State, especially just because I don't really feel like Florida, like even if they win that game, I think they're probably going into that Florida State game like a 500 team.
Well, and you bring up a good point there. Okay, so if Florida beats Miami, that probably means Miami's not quite as good as everybody thinks they're going to be. Mm-hmm. But Florida could still just be exactly what we think they are.
Right.
And then Florida State has 2 games on their schedule all of a sudden, as opposed to 2 really, like, I would really love, and like, no one, like, I don't know why people don't believe me when I say these things, Garrett and Steven. I miss the 90s and early 2000s where all 3 were good, and I would love for all 3 to, like, I would love for it to be like everybody plays each other every year so that, like, those things can help swing the playoff.
Yeah.
I would love it. I think it's great. I would rather lose to a rival, honestly, and Ohio State fans don't agree with me in this. I would rather, and I'll ask you guys this. Would you rather lose to the big rival? Like, would you rather LSU lose to Alabama or Kentucky?
Oh, Bama.
Bama.
Yeah.
Would you rather TCU lose to Baylor or
SMU?
SMU.
Well, they never lose against Baylor.
They've had a good run. I would probably rather them. The SMU loss is just so embarrassing. Even it might change now that they're in the Power 4.
Yeah.
But like previously it was SMU because like losing to Baylor sucks, but it makes sense in that, they're kind of equal programs for the most part. Losing to SMU was always
okay. Yeah. For A&M, I'd much rather lose to Texas than I would to lose to South Carolina when I play.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would much rather lose that game because at least that one's like, that's the rivalry game. Florida State and Georgia Tech, like, that's on the second tier of Florida State, like, care about, like, historically. Yeah. I am of the belief it needs to be, like, at the very top of that second tier because, again, it's been better than people realize over the years. Even though Florida State had like a 19-game winning streak or something ridiculous in the middle of it, but maybe not that long, but like they won like 12 or 13 in a row, so it didn't feel like it, but most of them were close. I would rather lose to the rivals, even though like I would rather beat the rivals than anybody. Like I'd rather beat the rivals and I'd rather lose to the rivals than any other way around. Like if you have to trade off, like if Florida State's not going to go to the playoff this year, okay, if they beat Clemson, Miami, and Florida, at least that'll make it better. But I do know that it'll sting that, like, they're not going to the playoff because they lost to Georgia Tech and NC State and Louisville or something. And I'm like, and part of that was because of base as a fan in the 90s. Like, that's really all they lost to was, like, Florida State, like, Florida, Miami, or Notre Dame. Like, those are the teams that beat them. One time Virginia jumped up and bit them. But, one time NC State jumped up and bit them. But for the most part, they only lost to Florida and Miami.
Right.
Or the bowl game. Like, so that's not so bad. Like, I'll take those losses and then dominate your conference. But I think this is maybe what perspective gives me. But I don't know. Garrett agrees with me. You're a little confused. And maybe it's just because, like, TCU's been on such a ride in conferences. The rivalry games haven't swung except like TCU and Baylor, 61-58, kind of screwed them both.
Right. I mean, I definitely want to win rivalry games more, and if you have a rough season, like a couple of years ago when TCU went 5-7 and they beat Baylor in Fort Worth, that was awesome. Like that season sucked, but that was an awesome Saturday.
Yeah,
and that kind of carried you for a lot of the year. So that's part of the fun of college football. Is those games should mean a lot, and hopefully they still do with the expanded playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, while we're talking about this, Garrett, let's bring it up. This is a segment we're going to call You're Not Helping. So, Garrett, throw up this stupid tweet from this idiot. This is from a Florida State fan on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday.
Yeah. And, Steven, you sent this. It's You sent it, and it has it's gone. Like I was like, oh man, I hope this is just something Steven stumbled across. It is absolutely not. This is from at 321 Noel. If Florida State loses to BC this weekend, I will eat dog shit out of a red Solo cup with a spoon and post a video of me doing it. Book it. Okay, look. I don't know if you got the vibes of last weekend where Georgia Tech beating Florida State was pornographic to teams that don't even care about Florida State historically. Do you know how much crap people talk to me that have never even played Florida State in any sport?
As you said, man, it's the only game on. Only game on.
Only game on.
Suddenly people are like locked in.
Because Florida State is in the villain role now. Like they went very rapidly from like, oh man, that sucks, you got screwed, to like, ha ha, screw you. Because of the fans' general attitude towards the conference and how, they are trying to shake up realignment when most college football fans don't want to see any more of it. So, like, I totally get it, and I respect your viewpoint on Florida State fans being jerks. Like, I get it. We're not the worst of the worst, but we're certainly not like friendly fans, and never have. Like, none of the schools in Florida, the big three, are friendly fans. UCF's about to find that out. They're about to find that out. They're very friendly at UCF. Very friendly. Love them. But yeah, no, there's general looking down and disdain of other fan bases all over the place. I get that. And that's not unique to Florida, but like, believe me, there's not a fan base in the three of us that's like, man, they were so polite. No, we're all different variations of rude.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's the state of Florida. No one's polite. Ever. Ever. You're mad at an old lady for driving. That's that's how it is. But this guy, and this is a Florida man thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely is post this. You're not helping, buddy. Not helping.
I mean, I just need to know, like, nobody's asking you to do this.
No, I don't
it's like you could say so many other things. You could just say, I think Florida State's going to beat Georgia Tech or beat BC. Book it. That would be fine.
Or I'll eat a really hot chicken wing.
Yeah, something like that. This is like the guy at the tailgate who you don't know who suddenly is like, hey, you want to watch me put jumper cables on this car battery and then hook the other side to my nipples? And you're like, well, I guess if you want to do that. I mean, nobody's really like asking you to. Yeah. Nobody's challenging you. Yeah. But if that's what you're into, like, that's fine.
Look, we're not here to judge. But
I'll stand over here.
But yeah.
So I remember a few years ago, it might have been after that Super Bowl where the Patriots came back against the Falcons. There was like a Falcons fan who said they were going to eat their hat if like the Falcons lost a game.
Yeah.
And they like stuck to it. And so they cooked their hat. I don't know how they sauteed it. Yeah, I don't know if they boiled it or what. And they tried to eat it, and this dude's like throwing up on a live stream because you
can't eat string.
You can't eat snapbacks. So it's not like a thing that people do. If you could, Garrett would be sustainable for years. If that was food and the apocalypse came through, we'd all go to Garrett's house.
Yo,
but you can't.
We have a lovely Washington Nationals cap today.
We've cooked it 3 different ways, and we're putting it on every place. So I don't know, but I plead to this person. Noel 321. Nobody's going to force you to do this, man.
Yeah.
So just, even if they lose Saturday,
do it.
Maybe just delete your Twitter account.
Yeah.
And just move on with your life.
Yeah, that's it. Stop liking sports.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, this is not.
Nobody needs a 2 Noels, 1 cup reenactment.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So. Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, please. It's okay. It's all right, brother. No. I think Florida State's going to win, but that's a lot of pressure you put on yourself for no reason.
Guess what? Florida State, for the second week in a row, only game on. Monday night. So look, I'm all about getting the brand out there, but guys, like when we're the only game on, we need to win.
Yeah, you got to bring your A game.
I don't know if Mike Norvell's brought that up to them. I'll bring it up. Like, have me in for the next time they do this. They got it the last 2 years against LSU. Guys, we're the only game on.
That is a thing that we should do. Like, it'd probably end up just being boosters and it'd be weird, but They should let fans go talk to the players at halftime.
Yeah.
And just be like, do you understand that you're embarrassing me?
Yeah.
I know you think this is just your reputation at stake, but it's not.
DJ, come here. I'm going to talk to you privately. All the rest of you guys can leave. You and me are going to sit down and have a talk, man to man. This ends today. All right?
We're drawing the line in the sand, brother.
Okay. Listen, I support you. I support you. We have trust, okay? But only one of us is doing our part of the bargain here.
Yeah. Do you understand the amount of subscribers I have on my YouTube channel?
Yeah. Look, you are causing me a lot of pain. I will say the two people I'm maddest at this football season are Rick Ross. For I think Rick Ross was the clincher for Miami, and Cam Ward, because I think that's what's going to swing Florida State this year a little bit if it doesn't go right, and then of course Urban Meyer and Fox for having the nerve to steal the name of this podcast. I am not happy about it. I'm not happy about it at all. I'm not happy that we have something in common. I'm not happy that he stole that. And I'm also not happy with the prospect of having to discuss this with legal people and then have them tell me well, Paul, here's the thing. You're Paul and they're Fox.
Nah,
so
let's take him to court.
I mean, I need Gloria Allred or something.
Get Bob Thompson.
Emory needs to draft up a cease and desist.
Yeah.
A thing that you can do? I don't know.
Yeah. Stop.
How long were you in law school?
Me?
Yeah.
0 days.
Okay.
Never went to law school.
Okay. I thought you did.
No. That would have been something that Pete Catalina would have made me finish come hell or high water. I'll tell you that right now. Dad, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer. Well, you don't have to be a lawyer, but you have to finish law school. You've started, you finish. I mean, I really don't like it. Yeah, well, you didn't like broccoli either, and I made you eat that until you did. So, yeah. All right. Did you love piano lessons? No, but we went through it and we finished, okay? We start something, we finish. I know that. I know that lesson. So that's why when they made the pitch to me to go to law school, I was like, look, I don't want to get halfway through this and be miserable. It seems like a lot of paperwork, which it is. So no. But I have plenty of friends in law school, and I used to go I picked up some law school by osmosis because I was the friend who was a comedian and I worked, I was broke as hell, but if they called up and hey, come to Orlando this weekend, and be yeah, let's go do something reckless. I was the guy who's hell yeah, let's go. And so they could be yeah, we don't have to talk about torts for a whole 3 days, but then you can't help but talk about things. So anyway,
that conversation reminds me, I saw a tweet today from Greg Tepper, who covers Texas high school football, and he said that he was taking his son to school and he was wearing his Army football shirt, and a crossing guard stopped him to thank him for his service, and he had to explain to him that he just really likes the triple option.
well, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe listen, I need to get as many people on here behind me like Greg Tepper.
Yes.
I mean, I know Greg. We're cordial.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. So, all right, I'm going to ask you rapid fire, Steven. Clemson, Georgia, how do you think that game goes?
I think Georgia wins by a couple touchdowns. I just don't feel like Clemson has the juice.
Yeah. Okay. Penn State, West Virginia.
I'm going Penn State. I think it'll be a close ball game in Morgantown, but I think Penn State has enough to get it done.
Oh, ye of little faith. Go Nears. Picking West Virginia straight up and down.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Miami and Florida at the Swamp.
Miami.
Okay. Garrett, did you pick Florida?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Only for the Swamp. I hate the Gators.
Yeah. I can't remember who I picked. It was a couple days ago. And finally, Notre Dame and A&M.
Give me Notre Dame. I just feel like that's a lot to ask in, game one of the Mike Elko tenure to pull that off. But Kyle Field, man, should be a great atmosphere. Should be fun.
Yeah. LSU and USC.
I saw a stat. I think this is right. LSU hasn't won a season opener since 2019.
2019.
Give me the Tigers.
Yeah.
I think the shine has worn off Lincoln Riley and company.
I hope.
Breaking a new QB. I feel like LSU wins.
All right. The next segment will be the wheel. Unfortunately, the wheel is we've not gotten the replacement part yet. I'm in a bit of a haggling situation there.
Okay.
I would like to not pay for it. I'd like to
That's fair.
send it to me. We don't have to point blame as to who broke what. I can just say that, like, maybe the tensile strength of this thing is not what you would report it. So we had an incident with the wheel last week. It broke. The clapper, the clicker.
These things happen, yeah.
It happened. So I'm trying to get a new clicker thing, and I'm trying to not pay for it. Maybe it's only like $6, but it's the principle.
Principle, yeah.
The principle of the thing. But Steven, we're going to grade 1 to 10.
On the watchability
Of games this week. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So there's some good ones and bad ones, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to rank them 1 to 10, or I'm going to give them
you're just going to give them like a score.
A score. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's coming up next. This is the triple option. The one true triple option.